Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan, and I'm really excited about today's episode because we're going to try something a little bit different. So the other day I was watching the end of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. It was the scene where Obi-Wan Kenobi was helping Padme deliver the Skywalker twins. And I thought to myself, why did Yoda send Luke to Tatooine and Leia to Alderaan? That's not really fair at all. Leia gets to become a princess on one of the most gorgeous planets in the galaxy, whereas Luke gets sent to Tatooine. Tatooine is a terrible place. I mean, the primary profession on this planet is freaking moisture farming. Who the hell would want to do that? So then I began thinking to myself, what if Luke and Leia were switched at birth, and instead of going to Tatooine, Luke went to Alderaan? How different would his life have been? What would he have been like by the time A New Hope happens? Well, after doing tons of research of what life on Alderaan was like for Leia growing up and factoring in Luke's personality traits, we created a pretty good sketch of what life was like for Luke Organa, the Prince of Alderaan. If Coruscant is the heart of the galaxy, then Alderaan is its soul. Full of lush forest and majestic mountain ranges, Alderaan was a landscape painter's dream, a land of fairy tales and a calm oasis in the midst of galactic turmoil. It was here that Crown Prince Luke Organa, the adopted son of Senator Bail Organa and Queen Briha, would spend his formative years. The Organas were determined to make Luke a proper prince. From a young age, Luke was tutored in royal etiquette, diplomacy, history, and the arts by his extended family of aunts and uncles. Queen Briha took young Luke on tours of the planet, and together they would visit farms, factories, small towns, and large cities. The Organas wanted their son to gain appreciation for every group in Alderaan society, because they knew one day he would become a leader of the Alderaanian people. Luke loved these informative adventures with his mother, but he was restless and wild, and it was his martial training and military tactics classes that excited him the most. The Queen was a sensitive person with a close connection to her adopted son. She sensed Luke's caged spirit and it saddened her greatly. So when Luke turned 10 years old, his mother surprised him by taking him to the royal shuttle and showing him for the first time how to fly. It was in the sky that Luke would find his true calling, and despite his young age, Luke quickly became one of the most talented pilots in all of Alderaan. Little did he know, though, his natural instincts were greatly heightened by the Force. Luke and his best friend Winter would routinely sneak into one of the royal shuttles and take to the skies, flying between and over the snow-capped mountains of Alderaan. One day, a very important person came to the royal home to visit Senator Bail Organa, a high-ranking Imperial official named Wilhuff Tarkin. Bail had warned Luke to stay away from Tarkin while he was visiting. Luke, on the other hand, took this as permission to go flying. And together with Winter, they took off in the royal shuttle and began racing through the mountain ranges near their home, pulling off all kinds of difficult maneuvers. Luke's antics were seen by Tarkin, and to Bail Organa's dismay, the general asked to meet this incredible pilot. Upon seeing Luke, Tarkin was shocked to see how young he was and informed Bail that his son would one day make a terrific pilot for the Imperial Navy. The Imperial Navy at the time was the most powerful fleet in the galaxy and fielded the most advanced and powerful starfighters one could fly. It was far better equipped than the antiquated Royal Alderaanian Navy, and the mere thought of joining such a formidable fighting force greatly excited Luke. But Organa reminded Tarkin that Alderaan had a strong tradition of pacifism, and it would be unfitting for the Crown Prince to join the Imperial Navy. It would send the wrong message to the people. Tarkin coldly replied that times were changing, and that antiquated traditions had no place in the new galactic empire. Word of the amazing young pilot from Alderaan reached Coruscant, and the Empire dispatched one of its feared inquisitors to see if the young prince's flying abilities had help from the Force. Luckily, that inquisitor turned out to be Ferrus Olin, one of the last Jedis to have survived Order 66. Ferrus was a double agent secretly working with Obi-Wan Kenobi to save Force users from the Empire. Bail Organa had informed Kenobi immediately after Tarkin had found out about Luke's ability as a pilot. Ferrus sent false reports back to Coruscant stating that Luke was just naturally talented, but had no innate Force abilities. As Luke grew older, his understanding of the complex galactic political situation grew as well. While things on core planets like Alderaan remained unchanged, Luke heard rumors of terrible things happening in the Outer Rim. Great slave labor forces being used to mine resources for the Imperial war machine. Citizens being sent to concentration camps and being executed for just disagreeing with the Empire. It had all become too much for Luke to handle, so he confided in his mother about how he really felt about the Empire. To his surprise, his mother said nothing and just took his hand and led him to his father's study. There she asked Luke to repeat to his father what he had just said to her. Luke obliged and listed his grievances with the Empire. With pride in his eyes, Bail Organa took his son by the shoulders and told him he was ready to learn about the Organa's biggest secret. It was that day that Luke Organa became a part of the Alliance to restore the Republic, later known as the Rebel Alliance. At the age of 15, Luke Organa turned down a personal invitation from Moff Tarkin to join the prestigious Imperial Academy on Coruscant. Instead, he began interning with his father's delegation. At the age of 18, Luke became the youngest senator in the Galactic Empire. Following in his father's footsteps, he denounced the Empire at every opportunity. But behind the scenes, the Organas and members of the Alliance to restore the Republic had given up hope of using diplomacy and were fully prepared to go to war. Luke used his diplomatic position to travel to several worlds, serving as a courier for sensitive messages and spying on Imperial garrisons. Luke championed more overt strategies against the Empire, including using hit-and-run guerrilla tactics to take out Imperial shipyards and supply depots. But Bail tempered the young prince and instead sent him on supply runs to rebel cells disguised as humanitarian aid missions. Frustrated by all the subterfuge, Luke often found comfort by flying his diplomatic vessel himself, a Corellian corvette named Tantive 4. As a matter of fact, he piloted so much that the vessel's actual pilot often was seen moping around the corridors of the ship with nothing to do. Luke had also made several modifications to the corvette, including replacing most of the escape pods with proton torpedo modules. Then one fateful day, Luke was sent to the planet Scarif as part of a small fleet backing up a rebel commando force who had stolen blueprints of a superweapon known as the Death Star. Luke managed to download the information, being beamed off the planet and escaped to Tatooine. Upon arriving to the desert planet, Luke was intercepted by the Imperial-class Star Destroyer Devastator, commanded by none other than the feared Darth Vader. The Star Destroyer engaged the tractor beam and locked onto the Tantive 4. But Luke was ready and tried an extremely dangerous gambit he had heard smugglers had attempted. He simultaneously launched every proton torpedo on board the Tantive 4 and reversed the sublight drives at the same time. Disengaged from the tractor beam, Luke immediately jumped the Corvette blindly into hyperspace. Meanwhile, the Devastator's tractor beams had locked onto one of the proton torpedoes and dragged it into one of the open docking bays, creating a massive explosion. Upon hearing of Vader's failure to capture the Death Star plans, the Emperor sends Tarkin to Alderaan to hold the planet hostage. Knowing that Luke's family was on the planet, the Emperor sends out a communication through known rebel channels that if Luke didn't arrive on Alderaan in 3 standard days, then he would destroy the entire planet. The Tantive 4 had suffered massive damage to both its sublight drives and hyperspace drives due to its dangerous maneuver to escape Darth Vader's Star Destroyer. Luke's ship never received a communique from the Empire, and the Rebel High Command had concluded that Luke's blind hyperspace jump had destroyed his ship. When the 3-day deadline ended, the Death Star fired upon Alderaan, sending shockwaves through the Force, awakening an old hermit on Tatooine. It was finally time for him to step out of exile and find a worthy apprentice. And that, guys, is only the beginning of our alternative story where Luke becomes the Prince of Alderaan. Next episode, Ben will tell the story of Leia Skywalker and her childhood on Tatooine as a moisture farmer. So guys, don't forget to join us next time to see the conclusion of our story and tell us what you think so far. Do you like our version of Star Wars? And guys, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, don't forget to hit the notification button so you know whenever we upload new videos. And as usual, guys, if you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.